Business Now. Stephen is back with us. We're going to start in Brazil, in fact. The president has unveiled plans to sell off state assets there.
The aim is to raise billions for the government, but also to attract more foreign investment and private investment to Brazil. It's a marked change in economic policy for the country, where Michel Temer has taken over as president after his predecessor, Dilma Rousseff, was impeached. The country is in the middle of its worst recession in 80 years. Mark Thompson has more.
An initiative the Brazilian president is calling Crescer, or Grow. Michel Temer says a planned raft of privatizations will help tackle the country's huge budget deficit and stimulate the economy.
The state cannot do it all. The government must have the presence of private initiative. The basic idea of this investment partnership program naturally aims firstly at the economic growth of the country, but as a consequence, the creation of jobs.
Among the items on the government's for sale list, 4 airports, 2 airport terminals, roads, mining projects and oil fields. Brazil is suffering its worst recession since records began. The country's economy contracted by 3.8% in 2015 and could shrink by a further 4.3% this year. Temer has also pledged to introduce pension and labour reforms, as well as make an effort to attract foreign investors. But his plans could face widespread public opposition. Spending cuts have traditionally been a volatile subject in Brazil, with large social programs helping to support more than 20% of the population who live in poverty. Many also don't trust the political class. Temer took over from previous leader Dilma Rousseff after she was impeached on charges of illegally manipulating government accounts, a political battle that deepened divisions in the country. Just 2 weeks into the job, Temer's popularity rating is at just 13%.
Now, at the same time, the president of Argentina also trying to win over foreign investors.
The Argentinian government holding a business and investment forum this week in the hope of tempting back foreign investment to industries including mining, oil exploration and agricultural technology. The chief executives of Coca-Cola, Siemens and the Dow Chemical Company, are all in town for the event. But can President Mauricio Macri convince foreign investors that Argentina is a safe place to put their money? Claire Williams reports now from Buenos Aires.
Argentina is trying to show the world that it's back in business. The government is calling this investment forum a mini Davos in Buenos Aires. Even though it's taking place in a cultural centre named after the former president, the government is trying to turn the page on the protectionist policies of Cristina Fernández de Kirchner. The new president, Mauricio Macri, is also trying to show that Argentina can now be trusted, 15 years after it defaulted on the debt it owed to foreign investors.
Investors here have committed to more than $40 billion so far. And that's not all. There's a lot of interest in renewable energies too. After a decade of broken promises by a government that lied, it's time for Argentina to get back on track.
President Macri has lifted currency controls on the peso and reduced import taxes. That should make doing business easier here. We spoke to some foreign investors to find out if they're convinced.
I'm very confident in the new regime. I'm very confident in their policies. I'm very confident in the qualitative part of it. The quantitative part of it obviously has to be delivered. As I said, you can rebrand a country, but or a product or a service, but if you don't live up to the promises, you're in trouble.
Nothing necessarily magically is going to change. There's still a lot of behavioral aspects that will have to change, and a lot of the rules and the regulations that they're speaking about that have to change, I think, before things will get that much better.
Poverty has increased since Macri came to power, and he's failed to bring down inflation. So he's got more work to do if he's to convince investors and Argentines his reforms are bearing fruit.
That's Claire Williams reporting there from Buenos Aires. Next, the German chemical company Bayer has moved closer to a deal to buy the US seed maker Monsanto. The firm has apparently upped its offer again to just under $130 a share. Monsanto has rebuffed previous approaches from Bayer. If accepted, the deal would be worth $66 billion and would create the world's largest seeds and pesticides company. Well, let's see how that's going down on the markets. European shares starting the day in the green. Bayer shares up by about 2/3%. So not much excitement there on the European markets. Investors are going to be watching what the EU Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker is saying in his State of the Union address that's happening at the moment. Most recently, we've heard from the Commission President that the European Union needs to show flexibility, intelligent flexibility in applying EU budget rules so as not to hinder growth. Good news for some companies that are, or countries, I suppose, that are looking to tighten their budgets. Over in Asia, on the stock markets, investors watching a possible intervention of the Chinese central bank in the markets. Offshore borrowing rates for the renminbi shot up overnight. That's usually a sign the People's Bank of China is getting involved in the markets. They don't announce it, though, until afterwards. Shares in Shanghai down by 0.8%.
Thanks, Stephen. Stephen with Business on France 24. Flow